Welcome back to Medrash Umaisa, sharing a story for this week's Parsha, Parshas Matos. The story is brought down by the famous educator of Shlomo Hoffman Zatzal. Many of his writings have been coming out recently. And the story is told about his close friend from when he learned in the Hebron Yeshiva, the great Gon, Rav Beryl Schwartzman Zatzal, and Rav Beryl's father-in-law, who was the great Rav Aharon Kotler Zatzal, founder of the Yeshiva of Lakewood. He tells a story which is both touching and noble. Here it is. Rav Beryl married Rav Aharon's daughter, and when he married her, he moved to America. Unfortunately, the marriage did not last long. Now, Rav Beryl had decided, once he married into that family, that he would make Rav Aharon Kotler his posek, and that all questions he had, he would do according to what Rav Aharon decided. This is how he began, and that continued even through the difficulties of the separation and divorce. He turned to Rav Aharon for guidance as to how to do it in the best possible way. After that was done, he moved to Eretz Yisrael, returning to his original place. He stayed at that time with the Hoffman family because he didn't have another place at the time. Reb Shlomo Hoffman noticed Rav Beryl during the winter looking worried. He said, "Rav Beryl, what's wrong?" He said, "I'm concerned about Pesach, which is going to be coming in 3 months." So he asked him, "What's your concern?" He said, "I'm wondering whether the obligation of V'yigarato levincha, of telling the story of Yetzias Mitzrayim to your children, applies to me this year to the extent that I have to travel to America in order to do the mitzvah of Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim with my children who are with their mother in America. The difficulties are not only technical of travel, but also personal difficulties as well. Am I obligated to take all of that upon myself in order to fulfill that mitzvah?" So Rav Shlomo Hoffman said to him, "Why don't you ask your Rav, Rav Aharon Kotler?" He said, "That's exactly my plan. However, let's think about it. A letter to America will take about a month to get there. Okay, you have to understand the lines of communication in that time. It'll take at least a month to get back to me. By the time that letter gets back, I will not be able to book a ticket on a ship that will get me to America in time for Pesach. So here's the plan I came up with. I am going to travel now to Italy, where I have a friend who also learned with us in the Hebron Yeshiva. I will stay in Italy until Rav Aharon's letter comes to you in Eretz Yisrael. If he tells me to go to America, I can easily travel from Italy to America. If he tells me to return to Eretz Yisrael, I can easily return to Eretz Yisrael." And so he did. After 2 months, more or less as he expected, Rav Shlomo Hoffman received on behalf of Rav Beryl the following answer from Rav Aharon Kotler. Rav Aharon said, "I feel that the mitzvah saseh does apply to you this year to the extent that you should come to Lakewood for Pesach despite all of the obstacles and difficulties. I will, be'ezras Hashem, do everything I can to help you with this. Therefore, I already let my family know and let the yeshiva know that the Seder this year, the Pesach Seder, is not going to take place in my house. It's going to take place in the yeshiva, where everybody will be in the yeshiva with a large crowd. And I specifically told them to invite guests from the outside so that it won't be any just family, so that we'll be able to minimize any discomfort you have with the situation." Rav Shlomo sent a telegraph to Rav Beryl telling him to travel to America, and so it was. In Parshas Matos, when we have those tribes, Bnei Ruven, Bnei Gad, Chatzi Shevet, Menashe, who wanted to set up their settlement in Ever HaYarden, and Moshe Rabbeinu initially suspected that they weren't going to continue with Am Yisrael into the war, and he said those words. He said, "Right, ha'achechem yavo lo melchama v'atem teshvu po." Well, your brother's going to war, and you will sit there. So along with the many commentaries about that, it is an expression also of the midah of what's called nosei ba'olim chavero, to bear the yoke together with your friend. And that's not always just in action, but in the midah of empathy, of feeling what the other person feels. Here we see the greatness of Rav Aharon's empathy for his former son-in-law, but continuing Talmud, who had married and divorced his daughter, to think about his sensitivities and to do everything that he could in exceptional ways to make things as pleasant for him as possible. May we follow in their ways to always be nosei b'olim chavero. And nosei b'olim chavero is one side of empathy. The other side of empathy, that Chazal said, it's true. We have to be tzarlo b'tzadrosan shel Yisrael. We have to feel the pain at the pain of Am Yisrael, but also sameach b'simchasam, joyful in the joy of others. May we have many, many occasions to do that. Wishing you all a wonderful Shabbos, Kol Tuv.